Welcome to Haunted Horizons GhostCast, where your hosts, Alison Oborn and Cag Allwood, will share their experiences in some of the most terrifying and haunted locations in Australia and overseas. So turn the lights off, relax, and enjoy. Hello, Cag.
Hello, how are you?
I'm really dandy. No, we haven't been drinking.
No, actually, no, we have coffee.
We have.
Coffee, it is coffee.
It's what it is coffee as well.
Yeah,
It's
hot coffee.
We
too.
haven't been on for a while, and people are probably wondering where we are.
Probably actually relieved that we've not been on.
That
for
we
a while.
haven't had any episodes for the
Yeah.
last 2 weeks. My new way of saying it. It's been busy. It's been very busy. We've been away. We've been trying to get ready for Christmas.
I've been ill.
You've been ill. That's another reason you haven't seen us, because you would have heard coughing every 2
Yes.
seconds. Well, you might still hear coughing.
Might the odd bit of
Not
coughing. you might do.
COVID, though. You took about
No.
8 tests, didn't you?
I did. Cost an arm and a leg, but yes, I did lots of tests just to make sure.
So that's the only reason I've let her in the house today. But that's why we've been quiet. And we're going to be quiet for a little bit. This is going to be the last one for the year. We're going to recap the year. And then we're going to have a bit of a break, because January is, just after Christmas, traditionally our busiest time for the tours. So we're going to be pretty flat out every night doing those. So we just need to focus on that. We'll try and keep the YouTube channel going, but for getting together, it's going to be very hard to do the podcast. So, but we're going to finish the year on looking back at the year.
The review.
And we're wearing our Christmas hats because it's nearly Christmas. In fact, when we recorded this, it's only 5 days.
Yeah, I think it is.
5 days to Christmas.
You didn't use your fingers. Well done.
I did. I just
did
mentally, you didn't see them twitch. They were twitching under the counter as I mentally added that up. And I'm probably still wrong. So we are going to look at the year, look at where we've been, look what we've done, look at the funny things, look at the paranormal stuff, try and find which one is Cag's highlights, which one is mine. And we'll also look at some of the things we might be doing next year.
Yeah. Now, the problem with this review, though, is that we've both got really bad memories.
We have.
We've been very busy, and it's trying to remember.
This is... It's like I was sitting here just a few minutes ago going, oh, we did this. Now, what do we remember? And you could hear the crickets.
Like a
chirping.
Yeah.
The tumbleweed blowing across the street.
Yeah.
I'm sure we had a lot, because you wrote a lot. You wrote a lot of diaries while we were away.
I did write a lot of diaries and cannot remember a thing. It's really bad. Or we could remember. Yeah, no, I won't go into it because we're going to do memories, so I'm not going to spoil it, because that would spoil it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So let's look at our own venues first. For those who don't know us as Haunted Horizons Tours, we do several venues, don't we?
We do.
And we're going to go through each venue, and we're going to look at what was my most memorable experience at it for the year, and also what was Cag's. Now, it could be difficult for some of them because I don't do them. Cag does. So it's going to be a solo memory for those as we recap through. Mm-hmm. I could give old ones, so my overall most memory.
Let's do that.
Because I did the tours before you did.
You did.
I remember a few things. All right, so let's go to one of our favourites, which we've had for 12 years, and that's Tailem Town, Old Tailem Town Pioneer Village.
It's a good one.
It is. Now, just a background, because not many people obviously are going to know Tailem Town. Tailem Town is a pioneer village, but it used to be an empty paddock full of dairy cows once upon a time.
So it wasn't empty then, was it?
Well, it wasn't. There was a cow or two in it.
There was one or two cows.
There's still a couple of cows in it today.
Is that when we're doing the tour?
Yeah. It consists of about 115 buildings. set out on 15 streets. And they are authentic because Peter, who built it, he didn't want to make it look old by getting wood, building it to look old. He actually wanted to keep it authentic. So he bought buildings from around the state, historical ones, when they came up for sale, and he transported them to build his village out of. So we have about 115 buildings. Not all of them are original, but a big part of them are original buildings. And if you've got a ghost in a house and you pull that house away on the back of a truck, Gag,
Yeah.
does the ghost just stand there and go, where did my home go? Or does it come with the walls?
Yeah, that's a good question, and we think it's probably moved, hasn't it, with them, with the house?
So we've been there 12 years now, not as Haunted Horizons. We did start as paranormal field investigators, so as a research team, but we had enough stuff happening and we were already helping the Adelaide Gaol kind of develop their tours, and we thought, you know what, Tailem would be good to do. Hence, Haunted Arise was born. Haunted Arise. Arise!
You don't know the name of your
Arise,
own company,
Haunted.
love. Arise. Yes.
It's Christmas. So we've been at Tailem Town for 12 years. We started off as paranormal field investigators, which was my research team. And as we were developing the Adelaide Gaol tours, we kept getting asked, did we do tours anywhere else? And that's how Haunted Horizons was born, because we thought, you know what, Tailem Town would be a good one to do. We'd had some stuff. Now, if you want my opinion after all these years, Kak, I don't know about you, I don't honestly think a lot of it is to do with the buildings. I actually think it's more to do with the land. I think it comes into the buildings because we're in the buildings with the tours. I think it follows us in. What have you found over the years there?
I found it's a very strange place indeed. That's all I can say about Tailem Town. Very weird. But no, I think I think it's definitely got to be something that's maybe been drawn in there because of what goes off in there.
Yeah.
I really don't know, but it's a very, very strange place.
I think one or two of the buildings seems to be very centered with the building. And we haven't covered them all, so there could be more out there, 115 of them. But what I've seen, which is a dark silhouette of a figure, and what you've seen as well, you've seen it in the streets as well. And I think that indicates a lot that maybe a lot of it is to do with the land. So now my most memorable for the year, let's go to the memorable ones for the year, Kag. Tailem Town. I'm going to say that my most memorable happening this year, and I'll put it up here for the video people, for the audio people, I'll put the screams up. How's that? Because the screams are fun. I was giving a tour in what we call the Emporium, which is the long shop. Used to be 3 houses all put together and the walls knocked out. But now it's kind of a very long old shopping emporium. And it is full of very creepy mannequins, Kag.
It's the creepiest of creepy mannequins put together in one place.
If you don't like mannequins, especially the old antique ones, then it is not the place for you, especially in this shop. So I was in there and I was telling a story, Kag, about many years ago, after I might have done a bit of provoking. A couple of weeks after that, I was in the building on my own, taking down a camera. Now, I wasn't touching the counter at all. I was only undoing a little plug on an infrared spotlight when the mannequin that sits at the end of the counter suddenly ended up near the door. Now, not a good feel when you're in a building on your own with a pissy little torch. You didn't have a bright torch. But moving time forward, this year I was doing a tour. I was doing that story. And then I did what I always do, is give the line. All I was doing was undoing this plug on an infrared spotlight when this mannequin, and I turn around and I put my torchlight on the mannequin that gets thrown. And the whole tour witnessed this mannequin pivoting on the spot. Now, this is very difficult for this mannequin to do because it's wedged into a 90-degree cutout in the counter. He's cut a 90-degree thing in the wooden counter, so it's wedged in there.
Mm-hmm.
So it can't pivot because it would have to pivot against the angle of the wood, which wouldn't be easy at all. Now, the next thing that happens is it goes flying into the audience, into the group, into the guests. And all you see is the guests screaming, hands hitting out because the mannequin's coming at them. The mannequin being thrown and hit in completely the wrong direction, then suddenly coming at me, ending up by my feet in bits. So he'll come in and do that. This particular night, he was down at Zed Ward. And the rest of the guides had the teams out working in the village, so I was the only one that was left to come and dismantle the stuff in here. And all I had was a pissy little torch, a little bit like the light I've got at the moment. So I'm behind that counter there, and all I'm doing is I'm undoing a plug on a infrared spotlight. That's all I'm doing. I'm that far away from the counter when I was doing it. So just undid the plug, and as I did that, this mannequin here, right at the end of the counter, oh, she's right at the end of the counter, oh, she's right at the end of the counter, oh, she's just turned.
Oh, that moved.
That just turned, didn't it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Nope. That just
Oh,
rotated.
Sorry.
Because nobody was near that.
that.
Holy fuckeroonie, Jesus
I can't
Christ.
see.
And
Oh,
she's
That's
oh,
all her
oh,
rotate, didn't you?
Yeah.
I saw that. Oh, sorry.
She actually rotated.
That's her.
Holy shit.
And that wasn't even a slide, she rotated.
That was-
No.
And you weren't anywhere near her.
No.
Nope. I think that last bit was natural because I think the pivot on the spot had put it off balance.
Yeah, off balance and it went.
And then you had that
Yeah.
lady leaning against the counter that suddenly came forward to see if she could get a better look at what we'd just seen.
Mm.
And I think that's when the mannequin toppled and went flying into the group and they panicked. So fortunately, thank goodness, the camera, although it's angled on the tour, just happened to catch the mannequin as well pivoting. Thank goodness. I think Damo, our guide, was very relieved about that because he put the camera up. And I think he was outside listening to it all going, oh, please let it have caught. Please let me have
Could
put
you
it in the
imagine?
right
Could
direction.
you imagine what it'd be like if you hadn't put that camera just so?
Exactly.
Would have been a lot of
It's
trouble.
like, did you catch it, Damo? I don't know.
But what you did miss out was the time the mannequin ended up by the door is a completely the wrong angle for that mannequin to have fell over.
Yeah, there's a ledge as well that she would have to slide down. If I'd overbalanced her, she would have to have slid, and that slide would have taken her in a certain direction trajectory. And she did go in that trajectory, but then she changed. This is in the first time the mannequin did it, and then she angled. So very weird, isn't it, the Emporium?
Yeah, it is. And I was in there only a few weeks ago with a lovely group, and we were investigating in the Emporium, and the girls were standing by the mannequins and they were freaking out because they could hear the sound of plastic on plastic. So something moving. And I'm like, if one of these heads turns, I'm out of here.
It's like Doctor Who. I don't know if anybody's watched the Doctor Who, the Weeping Angels. And it's a case of don't blink. Because if you blink, they move closer. you kind of get that feeling with them, don't you? If you put your torch on, suddenly they're going to be a bit closer. Or they've moved. And then you put the light on, they stop. And that's the whole creepiness about these mannequins in there. So that would be my outstanding memory for the yeah. I haven't put it up. And that's because I wanted to get it up with a series of the times we've had something move, like the 5 best. So I will do that, but I might just put it up here as well for the video people.
Yeah, and what you've got to mention as well, what makes it worse is that these mannequins, not all of them have got eyes or they've got a cracked face.
No, they look like they crawled out the grave.
They do. I think Peters has found the creepiest mannequins around and then just put them all in one building.
Yeah, and he doesn't really do it because of the ghosts or anything like that. It was us that came in. It was simply just for history.
Yeah.
So the historical mannequins, but
they're great.
They're great. So, Keg, what was your main memory from Tailem Town?
I had a really weird one. All right. Now, you know how the buildings at Tailem Town have all got tin roofs. So when it's gets cold at night, they contract and they bang and they knock.
Yeah.
Well, I was in there with a group of people and we were investigating and we were hearing these noises going off. And to start off, we went, oh, that's just a possum, or it's one or two. Actually, it's a whole family of possums because the noise it was making. And then we thought, or maybe it's raining outside because it had been raining. Maybe it's raining on the roof. And we went outside and it wasn't raining. And we even looked to see if there was a tree next to it and whether it had been raining and it was just dropping off the branches of the tree. But there was nothing anywhere near it. And we could not work out what these noises were. It was so weird.
Yeah.
So weird.
Well, that brings me up to noises the other day, Keg, actually only 3 weeks ago.
Right.
Forgot about that one. I was in the hotel and I was standing by the bar. Unfortunately, it is a dry bar.
It is a dry bar.
That barmaid is hopeless. I've been trying for 12 years to get served in there. And the tour stands kind of in front of me. And some of them stand pretty much into a room, the big lounge room, with their backs to it. And all I know is suddenly there was all these screams and this sea of people came running in my direction, getting crushed. I don't know why people do this, Kag. I now have to put it in my tour. If anything happens, don't come running at me. I am not going to help you one little bit. But they always seem to come running in the guide's direction. You just see this sea of people when mass panic happens. But they said they heard a bang on the window, but then it was like this vibration type thudding going around the walls, across the ceiling and down the other walls. Now, that's not a possum.
No.
That's not a possum. And it was only in the one room, so I still don't know what that was. No. But that's the last thing I had in there.
Yeah, it's a very, very strange place to be.
It certainly is one of our favourites.
Can I just ask you a question? Are you sure it's 12 years you've been at Tailem? Sure it's not longer?
13. 2009, I think I started, a year before we started doing the tours. 13. It'll be 14 years next year.
I thought it was a bit more than 12.
Yeah, I lose track.
It's your age.
The jail. Let's go to the jail.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the jail was built in 1841 and it shut in 1988. So during that time, we had about 300,000 prisoners go through it, men, women, and children. We also had 45 executions there, and all 45 of the executed is still buried within the jail grounds. So that was part of the punishment. We have the cemetery. In fact, we have two cemeteries, one called Murderers Row. Now, there is one building that seems to be more active than any of the other buildings, and that's called the New Building, Kag.
It is called
Makes
the New
it sound
Building.
modern, doesn't it?
It does.
It was built in 1879. But it got the nickname because it's the last building to be built there. They got the nickname the New Building, and that stuck through all this time. Everybody still refers to it as the New Building. Now, it's T-shaped, double-story, and I did have an experience in what we call B-Wing, which is where the staircase is. And we were giving a tour one night. I was standing on the stairs when we started to hear footsteps on the gantry, the upper gantry, down one of the other sections. Now, it came to the top of the stairs, and I was like, yes. But then it started to come down the stairs, Kag.
Mm-hmm.
Clear footsteps, click of the heels, squeak of fresh leather, of heavy boots coming down the stairs towards us. It then walked between me and the other guide on the step, must have passed within inches. You could hear it, you just couldn't see anything. And the guests that we had at the time, two documentary makers, actually stepped aside because they said they thought they felt an authoritative figure was coming through. And then we listened to it walking off down the hallway and out the door at the end of this long, long hallway. So I was doing this story like I always do to the tour, and I got to that last bit, and then they stepped aside, and we listened to it walking off down the hallway and out the door at the end, and I pointed towards the door at the end. And the door at the end, as I pointed, just went slightly open and just went bang. As I said it, it looked so contrived, like it was, because it was perfectly
so well
timed
Mm.
that I actually did make the guests go down to check it out, because I knew in the back of their mind they were going to think, oh, that's a put on. And at the end of the day, we don't put things on. Most people go away without much happening,
Yeah.
don't they? Little things. And if we were going to do it that perfectly, we wouldn't make it that obvious. So we just don't. So I made the guests go down quickly to go and check it out, make sure nobody was in the area. And meanwhile, Damo and me were standing there kicking ourselves because neither of us that night had been wearing our body cameras. And that's normally what we have on, isn't it?
Well, Damo does.
Damo does, yeah. I'll blame Damo then. Damo.
Yeah, Damo.
Damo. Damo, that's your fault. You know
Yes.
you should wear it when
Damo.
I'm the guide.
Mm.
So I think that was it. That was the highlight for me. What about you?
Yeah, I've had lots of interesting things happen in the new building, but I'm going to choose a different one.
Oh,
I'm going to go to the induction centre. So that is where, when they first came to the jail, they were sent there and they were given their uniforms and that sort of
it's
thing.
quite modern as well. In the scheme of things,
It is.
It was put in, not far. I can't remember the date on it.
Was it 60s, 70s?
I think it was. Somebody else shoot me down with that one. Yeah. Old ladies.
I know.
Old brains.
We've got a lot to try and keep
Only
up
been there 21, 22 years.
I think the problem is that when you get to our age, all the stuff that's supposed to be in your head is actually making its way down your body.
There's too much in our heads. When you get to our age, we've accumulated a lifetime of memory. So we have more in our head than a young person.
We do.
We do.
We do. And it's just finding it, because we're not very good at filing, are we?
No, we're not.
Filing's a problem for us, and that's why we can't remember a lot of things.
Yeah.
And that's why we're so chuffed as well, because it makes its way down your body, and that's why you expand.
And we expand because we're chuffed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yes, the induction centre, going back to what we were talking about initially. So I was in there again with a group of investigators, and it'd been a fairly quiet night. And I wasn't going to take them in there. We only had a few minutes left. And I said, come on, let's just give it a try. So we sat in there and nothing was happening. But we clearly all heard heavy booted footsteps walking right past the induction centre door. Now, the jail is locked off. Not only is the car park locked off, but the jail itself is locked off. There was only myself and my group of investigators there. There was nobody else in the building. We went to have a look. Nothing there. And I was so excited. And I gave you the card with the footage on to download.
You did. And it had corrupted. Funny that.
I tell you.
It's just like when you don't wear your body cam, isn't it, Kate?
I know.
Can't get the staff.
I know.
All right, Zed Ward.
Okay,
Cag, Zed Ward. Home for the criminally insane. So Zed Ward is just one small building. It used to be a ward. It's set back on a precinct that used to be known as Parkside Lunatic Asylum. Over the years, obviously that's politically incorrect, became Glenside Hospital towards the end. Now, it was the criminals, it was for the males, so it was a male-dominated building. And we've had it now for longer than we thought we would get it, haven't we?
We have. It's about, what, 9
years? 2014 that we got it. And I think that was towards the end of 2014. So 9 years. And it's been an interesting journey. We've had a lot happen there. It's one of our more challenging ones. But I think the one that stands out for me this year was an Estes session. Now, it's a very controversial one. And I'm surprised we haven't been attacked more by people saying we put it on. And that's what I risked when I put it up. It took me 6 months to decide to put it up, because it was too good to be true. Now, an Estes, for those who don't know, is where you take a spirit box or ghost box, broken radio, but you take the bias out of you being able to hear the questions by putting a headset in and putting that person far, far away from you so that they can't hear the questions. And they just call out anything they're hearing. Now, I wished we'd been able to record this. I really, really do. It's not something we do on tours because it's not actually full on investigating. It's more with the guests. So it's not set up like
record it as in add a voice recorder
to the ghost box,
ghost
so you
box.
catch it live real time.
So you can hear what
Yeah.
the person with the headphones set on is listening to at the same time.
Yeah.
Which we do on an investigation.
We have started to do that now on our travels when we do the investigations, when it's just Kag and me. And we'll get into that later. But this time we didn't because it was a tour set up. Nothing was happening anyway. And one of these girls, I had 4 girls down from Queensland, and they'd never done investigating before. They just wanted something to do in the evening. So they're not even into the paranormal, Kag. That was the whole thing about it. And I put one of them on the headset down the hallway, and she was a good distance away from us. And then we started to ask questions. Now, the night before, I'd said to Karen, I'll back up, that I can't get this song out of my head. Do you know when you get a song in your head and you just can't stop singing it?
Oh, it's a nightmare, isn't it?
And this was Singing in the Rain. I'm singing, in the rain. Just singing in the rain. What a glorious feeling. I'm happy again. All right, so that was the... Sorry, we like to burst into song. Nobody else likes us to, Kag, but we do. And I could not get this. And it's not like I listen to that type of music to have...
That is the last song you would listen to.
My music is a lot beatier than that. I like to feel my music. So I couldn't understand why I was singing this. And I was saying to Karen, I can't get this song out of my head. And then as we're doing this Esther session, we got on to music. And I think it started, I could be wrong. I'm going to play it anyway, so you'll get the correct version. I'm kind of trying to remember it, Kag, without having watched it for a long time. We got on to music for some reason. Do you like music or something like that? And I think she said something like rain. And I think it started, what she was saying was starting to click. And you'll hear the moment I suddenly engage and go, hang on a minute. And we played Singing in the Rain, and we started to play the beginning of it. And she comes out, very childlike voice. I'd love to do that. You still there?
Here.
Good to know.
Sounds like Robert.
Raining.
Raining.
I hope not. I've got gardening to do.
It was nice and clear outside when we came in.
Raining.
Wouldn't it be funny if it was raining?
Raining. Good. Come on, wait.
Oh, I didn't know.
Is that tears? That's like wet cry.
Would you like us to sing you a song?
Oh,
Do you want us
raining.
to sing it in the rain?
Yeah, that just clicked.
Of course.
Do you want me to? Yeah, we can sing that.
Singing in the rain, just singing in the rain. What a glorious feeling, I'm happy again. I'll walk down the lane with a happy refrain, just singing and dancing in the rain.
You would like to sing and dance in the rain, would you?
Do you go outside? Rain.
Did you like our song?
That's creepy that I had that in my head last night.
Yeah, yeah.
I was asking questions. I was getting direct answers back. No hesitation. She couldn't hear, to the point, Kag, where you can see me getting suspicious. And I snuck on down the hallway, tapped her on the shoulder, but grabbed the ghost box off her as soon as I touched her. So she didn't have time to fiddle with the ghost box. And then you'll see me put the headphones on straight away. to see how loud it was. It was loud. And you can also, if you turn your volume up, you can also hear the ghost box from where she is on her
She's
ears.
a long way from you
And
guys.
she's a long way. The other weird thing that you pointed out when you watched it, and I hadn't picked up on, was her position.
Yeah, she doesn't move.
40 minutes she did this.
She sat with the feet crossed for 40 minutes. It does not
And
move.
on an angle as well.
Yeah. Really, really weird to watch.
Yeah, doesn't fidget, doesn't move. It's
No.
almost like she's tranced out.
And also, at one point, you played Amazing Grace, but she was actually saying the words.
Yeah.
And she couldn't have heard the music.
No, we were playing it quiet down our end. But she gave the next segment.
Now, I can understand people being sceptical because you didn't record it. But
Yeah.
what people don't realise, this was on a tour. It's not an investigation that we would do for YouTube or
You
something like
can't
that.
set up. I have the tour from beginning to end with 2 guests. Actually, other guests were there and they left, and then everything ramped up after they went. I have their bookings. I have their thing. You can see they're from Queensland. I have no affiliation with these. They were just random guests on the tour. That sometimes, I think I've only ever had this happen 3 times in 9 years in Zed Ward, where bang, we were having a conversation. It was just, I drove home trying to rationalize, because I am a rational person. I was trying to rationalize what just happened. It was too good not to put up, but I risked, when I put it up, that nobody was going to believe it, because it was too good to be true. But I can put my hand on my heart. I have tried to work it out. They couldn't hear. All I can say is it's the most mind-blowing Esther session I think I've ever had.
Yeah,
And we do it day in, day out with our guests.
I agree.
So what was your highlight for Zed Ward?
Yeah, there's been a few different things going off. Things, equipment going off on command and that sort of thing. But again, I think I'll have to go back to the Esthers. And I had a group one night where it seemed as though we were possibly talking to somebody in there, and they were trying to tell us about their crime and how they got in there in the first place. But what was interesting was I was swapping the people over on the Esthers, and the same conversation was coming up. Even people that were like, this is rubbish, and they were still coming out with the same things and answering the questions.
Yeah.
Even though we changed things around, we didn't keep asking the same things. We tried to change it. We're still getting very similar responses. And that, I think, is very
Esthers
strange.
does work quite well in there. When it works, sometimes you get absolutely nothing. Nobody's connecting.
Most of the time you get absolutely
yeah.
nothing. But
Yeah.
when you do, it's actually fascinating.
Yeah, to watch. NRM, well, I can't really talk about the NRM. The National Radio...
Not just
nearly
me.
did it. You say it, Cag.
The National Railway Museum.
Now say it a bit faster.
National Railway Museum. I can't do it because I have an issue with railway.
What is the NRM?
The NRM is a massive railway museum, and it's full of the engines and all memorabilia. So it's a fascinating place.
It's actually built on the old working part of the Port Dock railway station.
It is.
Which isn't there anymore. There's a police station now where the old railway station used to be down Port Adelaide. But the tracks are still there. And where the museum sits is actually where the carriages came in to be unloaded and loaded.
Yeah.
It was the working part. Lots of accidents there.
Lots.
Now, for you, what's the highlight this year for you?
We've had all sorts of things. Mickey's been the one. Mickey is the ghost hogger.
Yep.
And Mickey's had everything from noises, people seeing figures. For me, I would say legs. I know it sounds really weird. Sounds really, really weird. People seeing legs. So legs sticking out from between carriages. Another time, we have a carriage where people walk through it. And we've had all sorts of things reported from somebody walking behind them, in front of them, whispering. they're complaining that they could have told us, we could have told them about the mannequins that are sat in there.
Oh.
There's no mannequins.
No, there isn't.
No, there used to be. Can you remember when there used to be?
Yeah.
But they had to take them out.
Right.
So, and also seeing figures walking down the far end where the male toilets are. But one guy I had on a tour, he was waiting to go on. He was stood there with Michael, and he says he looked inside, and he could see part of a leg, and he thought it was the person in front of him still waiting to go down the hallway. But when he got on, it just completely disappeared.
Okay.
So yeah, legs.
Arcade, Adelaide Arcade. I'm going to hand over to you again.
Adelaide Arcade. Now that is one of our quietest venues.
We call it the
Casper.
The Casper Tour because it's nothing horrible there. Nothing too scary, is there?
No.
It seems to be more gentle stuff there.
It does. In the storeroom, that one has been a fairly interesting place.
Now, we haven't said, Kag. You better tell them what Adelaide Arcade is.
So Adelaide Arcade is an absolutely stunning shopping arcade in the middle of Adelaide itself, built in 1885.
Very ornate, isn't it?
It is. And this time of year, with its Christmas, it has the best Christmas decorations. So there's been a few deaths in there. And but one of the strangest places would be the storeroom.
Yeah, but it's not a storeroom in reality, is it?
It's not. It was actually living quarters, wasn't it, for the people that used to work there.
Yeah, and very close to where one of the tragedies.
Yes, very close to
or the
that.
person who used to.
Yeah. So anyway, I've been in there doing tours. I've had to stop the tours occasionally because people have heard heavy breathing behind them. We had one lady scream because something touched her back. And then another lady started to freak out because somebody was playing with the zip on her bag.
And we got our best EVP from there, but we have done that. Go and have a listen. We've done the Adelaide Arcade as a full episode. So go back and have a listen to that because there's some really interesting stuff and we play that EVP on there. The zoo, handing over to Kag again. Because I don't do that one either.
All right, the zoo. We tend to stick to two places in there. So we tend to stick to the Minchin House. Also, actually, the zoo is the second oldest zoo in Australia. What's that? Metropolitan Zoo in Australia. Opened in 1883. And the Minchin House is where the directors used to live up till 1970. And that's one of the places we take our guests to investigate. And people have heard shuffling and footsteps upstairs and the equipment going off up there as well. The other place we take people to is the Nocturnal House, which is a really interesting place, isn't it, to take people to investigate. Not many people get a chance to investigate the Nocturnal House. And we've had equipment go off on command in there. So, and also I think the most interesting one for me would be REM pod activity. Now, the REM pod never goes off. When's the last time you had a REM pod go off?
Not for a long time. No.
We had it going off on command, asking if it to light up, and it did.
Last time I remember it going off, and we'll get into it soon, is America. There was at Madison Seminary on the bed of the man who may or may not have had a big policy on his wife.
Oh,
that one.
I'm
just editing that now, guys. That episode will be coming on YouTube a bit.
So that was a while
later.
ago.
Yeah. All right. So Glenbar. What is Glenbar, Kag?
Glenbar is one of the original homesteads and it's based in Strathalbyn in South Australia. It's about an hour or so up the freeway from Adelaide City itself. Beautiful, beautiful homestead. And that was built in 1842, so just a year after the Adelaide Gaol. And it was originally occupied by the Rankin family from Scotland. So then it moved on to the Giles family, and then it went on to be a Girl Guides area. So it's got a lot of history.
Old place.
So all sorts of weird things happening there. We've had people see figures up in their house. We've heard people have heard children upstairs in the house as well. And that's where the girls, when it became a girl guy place, that's where the girls used to sleep in the main house. So strange things happening there. The church, I've had somebody acting very strange and just stood up and started singing Amazing Grace for no reason whatsoever. They didn't realise they were doing it, which is
that's
a
very
bit
weird.
strange.
Yeah.
And then the cottage, I've had people see figures in the cottage, and the equipment going off for no apparent reason when we're all in one room and the equipment's in the other. And then the cellar.
The cellar. Always a bit dark, isn't it?
People have seen figures. They've seen something going across the floor. Equipment going off.
Yeah.
Very dark in there.
Yeah.
It's cool though.
So that's kind of the yearly recap on our venues. What we're going to do now, though, is we're going to look at the rest of the year. So we've done a bit of travelling this year, haven't we, Kag?
Only a bit.
Only a bit. I've been to England twice. Kag's been to England once. We've both been to America.
You have.
And it's been very fast-paced.
It has.
I think we'll look at maybe, which should we look at first? Shall we look at well, actually, we did the UK first, didn't we? We should really start with that because I went over there first, didn't I?
You did. You went by yourself.
It was said that I got the call that maybe I should rush over there because my mum at the time was on her last legs. And so I did. I got on a plane. It took me 2 days to just book the plane and get on it. Flew out there. And when I got there, Kag, she was sitting eating jam and toast, looking much better.
She was doing well for a dying woman there.
She was.
Not many people can do that.
I mean, bless her, she suffers from dementia, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So, but she did pick up, and by the time I got there, she looked a lot better. I thought I'd tie it in with a couple of investigations. So the only place available at the time was 30 East Drive. It's booked out all year, but the one time I could go, which was on a Tuesday night, it happened to be free. And I thought, you know what? I'll go and do a lone vigil in 30 East Drive and see what happens.
Go you.
Now everybody's saying, oh, you brave person, braving 30 East Drive. And I'm like going, yeah, I know. And going, there's nothing here. Do you honestly think, Kag, if I thought there was something like a demonic black monk poltergeist in 30 East Drive, I would have gone, yeah, I'm going to go and sit on my own.
No, you wouldn't.
So that's how much Kag and me believed the hype on 30 East Drive. And I am going to say it did feel very comfortable. Now, I was sick, Kag. I'd come down with a very, very bad, not COVID, but not far off. Probably what you've just had, actually, but I had it earlier in the year. And I'd set everything up. I thought, I'll just sit at the bottom of the stairs. So it's a little terrace council house, very small. And as I was doing a live stream, I was walking around, showing people around, I happened to see a little rag doll sitting on the bed. It's only a small one and very light. So I thought, I'll pick that up. I haven't got any trigger objects with me because I wasn't intending to investigate. So I put the little rag doll at the top of the stairs, leaning against the wall. I think it's become a bit famous now, hasn't it?
Yes.
And it was leaning against the wall, but I reckon it was a good 6 inches away from the edge of the stairs as well.
Probably more, to be truthful.
Yeah, I didn't want it to topple and fall down the stairs, ironically. And then finally I got around to doing the investigation. It was meant to be a live stream. So all it was going to be, it was supposed to be a live stream to our Haunted Horizons page where we could have a big chat room, all hang out, but in a haunted location. So it wasn't like a full-on investigation. Now, I was calling out and I said, look, there's a doll at the top of the stairs there. I said, it shouldn't be there. And I pointed to it. And at the moment I pointed to it, the doll flicked upwards, did a double somersault and landed upright. I think it was 2 or 3 steps down. It was perfect. And you can hear me stop breathing, Kag, because it's like that did not. overbalanced. The rational side in me goes, there must be a natural explanation for that. The non-rational side that goes, I've had too much happen to say this stuff doesn't exist, goes, that I've watched it over and over again as well. I can't understand how it moved upwards and then did a double flip if it just toppled forwards.
And a lot of people actually said that it seemed to be lifted up by its arm and then flips as well. So it's just the weirdest thing.
It is, and I guess that got us a little bit of attention, didn't it?
Well, the thing is as well, let's just put this into perspective first, all right? The first thing is, it was not used on the thumb.
No, I didn't. I couldn't be sure about it. And half me goes, you know what? That looked contrived. It looked too good. I pointed at it, the doll went. I wasn't sure myself in my own heart, and I hate being sensational and doing clickbait when I don't know. I honestly don't know. So I didn't use it in the thumbnail.
No, you didn't use it in the thumbnail, didn't use it in the title,
didn't mention it
whatsoever.
in the description.
No.
Didn't mention it anywhere.
No.
Until our numbers started to trek up.
Yes.
Suddenly.
We had
like
a
in
lot
one
of people.
morning. We had an awful lot of views on this video. And then somebody came in and said, hey, Beardo's just been looking at your video. And it's like, who's Beardo?
Yeah.
Never heard of him. So went to have a look. He's a debunker. Went to have a look. And sure enough, he'd been using the video to debunk the doll. And you know what? I'm going to say it, and I've said it in our last, when I did a podcast specifically on this.
Yeah.
I actually liked the guy.
Yeah.
I actually found him, he wasn't being toxic.
Nope.
There are debunkers out there who just seem to get very personal, very toxic, and are just nasty.
Well, there's one.
There's a few. We've had a
one
couple.
or
We've had another
two,
one that's,
yes.
yeah.
But there are, the majority aren't like that.
Yeah. And he was being very fair with it and saying he hoped it was for real.
He was very respectful, actually.
Yeah.
Wasn't he?
And at the end of the day, couldn't say one way or the other. And the good thing is I had done a live stream. What they saw on the video is only snippets from a live stream. I had the live stream from beginning to end, from me walking into the house, setting up the camera, taking people for that initial walk around, me seeing the doll on the bed and going, oh, that'll do for a trigger object, picking it up, putting it down. At no point did it pause or where I'd put wires on it or anything else. It was put there and off it went. And definitely go and check out Beardo, because Beardo's become quite... We are hopefully going to work with him this year. We just find him very funny and very fair and a really nice guy. And I'm going to put a little link up for his...
He is. He's a lovely guy.
He is. And
he's actually given us our own name.
Oh, and he's also, he actually thinks we're quite funny for some reason. I don't know why. Why does he think
I think he needs to get a life.
Beardo,
you need a life.
I think the way he described us was, it was like watching your two crazy aunties just living their best life. Once he really looked into us and is like, do you know what? I love that analogy. I've kind of adopted it as the two crazy aunties. And we do. That's what, he nailed it. That's kind of what it's bringing you, the history of these places, showing you around because you may never get there, throwing a line out to see if we get any bites at all. And at the same time, being besties, just having that natural sense of fun. You can't help it. And we sing. We do sing.
We sing.
Maybe he hasn't seen the ones where we sing a lot.
Maybe he has.
No.
He's seen the ones where we fall over
asleep.
And fall asleep and break things.
Yeah.
Well, we only break our own equipment. We don't break anything else.
No, we only do our own. Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is why we can't have nice things, Kag.
So if you want to go and watch Beardo Gets Scared.
Yeah.
That's what it's called.
Go check. All right, so that was probably my highlight on the trip I went to. I got very sick after that. I had investigated another place, Newcastle Castle, but I had to bail partway through because I was feeling that ill. And I think that was it for me. I did a couple of local pubs and that was about it before I got snowed in. Highlight.
Very jealous.
Highlight.
Very jealous.
Snowed in. It was great.
We were all melting here at the time and you snowed in.
snow up to my knees.
Do you know when you get a phone call going, I'm never going to get my plane because it's snowing, and I'm like, oh, bitch.
I actually went for a walk in it with my sneakers, and everybody else is in their wellies and everything else looking at me walking around going, Australian, from Australia. It's like, I'm going to walk around in this snow.
Look how thick it is now, look. It's up to my knees. And I'm like, shut up.
It's great.
Mm.
So what we're going to do is we're going to leave it there, Cag. And maybe New Year's Eve we'll put on part 2 of the year.
Oh, no, that would be good.
That would be good. All right, with that, guys, have a Merry Christmas if you do Christmas. Have happy holidays if you don't do Christmas. Or happy whatever else it is that you celebrate. But spend time with your families, whatever. And be safe. And we will be back next week.
Bye.
Bye. Please remember to share, like, and subscribe to this podcast. The extended video version of these episodes are available for members of Spotify and Patreon. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and see the full investigation from these episodes on our YouTube channel. Details are in the About section of this podcast. Thank you from Cag and Ali for listening.